That's usually the time where we realize that we've left our phones on and not on mute. Anyhow, what's up, everybody? It's 7 o'clock. That means it's time for the yard sign. Yours truly, Johnny Torres. Thank you so much for watching, as always. Although I was not able to participate on camera last week, we want to thank everybody who did watch. We actually broke 1,000 views. Hush over there. I haven't turned your mics on yet. We got over 1,000 views last episode, thanks to our guest again, Anibal Luna, who was our first candidate of any race to join us on the show. And we opened the door to any other candidates who'd like to join us on the show. Just reach out to us here through our Facebook page. You are watching The Yard Sign, the most important and relevant podcast in politics. And joining me, as always, is an interesting cast of characters, to say the least. Let me go ahead and turn up their mics now, and we're going to go ahead around the table and introduce everybody. Let's go. From left to right, as usual, it's Mr. Anibal. How are you doing, Anibal?
I'm doing great. It's been a good day. A little rainy, but all in all,
Too rainy.
a little rainy.
Too rainy.
I will say, good news. One of the best news, actually. I lost 1 pound.
Yes.
Oh,
I know.
One at a time.
bad.
It's working well. That's what I was told. One at a time.
Exactly. And then next to Anibal, someone we haven't had on the show in a while, but definitely happy to have her back. It's Michelle Sassouni. How you doing, Michelle?
Doing great. How about you?
Doing good. Still wearing some of that vacation tan?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. I think it's kind of year round at this point.
All right. Well, thank you for being back on the show, and joining us as always in the far right chair. That sexy man is Jake Hoffman.
How's it
How you
going,
Jake?
I think we're gonna have a great show again today.
I just love how uncomfortable you got whenever I compliment you.
I
just find it hysterical.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with
He
it.
knew it was coming.
It's
He wore a V-neck today.
It's 2019, man.
That's
Get comfortable with
exactly
it.
what's
I'm very comfortable with it.
happening.
Gonna have to rock the deeper V next time.
No,
Deeper
no,
V.
no. This is as deep as it needs to go.
Oh my gosh.
You were
Well,
gonna
again, we
confuse us.
talk about all kinds of politics here, state, local, national, and so let's go ahead and run down the list of topics for today, and we'll timestamp this episode once we've completed it, so that way you can fast forward to the ones that you are more interested in.
More and more organized as every
We're getting
week
there.
goes by.
I am trying to make this a respectable program.
We almost started at 7 this week.
I know. We almost started on time.
Why are you making this comment?
I'm not saying
Walked in 2 minutes before we started.
it is a group effort.
I know.
It's a group effort.
I mean, the hair looks great, but how long did that take?
No, I'm not going to say why we started a little late today, but, that's okay. They know who they are.
Protest too much.
Yeah. So, all right. So back to today's topics. Nancy Pelosi, she balks on impeachment, and our poll in the comment section today is, does she even have the votes if she tries to pull this off? My vote, if you've been watching this show at all the past few weeks, has been no. I don't think she has the votes in the House or the Senate for it. Project Veritas videos. James O'Keefe, been a big fan of his for many, many years now. We actually had one of his cohorts at one of our Christmas parties years ago. We'll talk about his CNN videos and whether or not that's going to pressure Jeff Zucker to resign. Let's see, Clinton-Tulsi battle there between Hillary Clinton, Tulsi Gabbard, and whether or not she's a Russian agent, which is, you would think that would be one of the most ridiculous things we've heard this political season, but it's not. But fascinating nonetheless. And then our local topics for today, Scientology pretty much buying up all of Clearwater. I mean, it was just a matter of time. We'd seen it coming if you've lived here long enough. And then the Tampa St. Pete ferry boat apparently has been green lit. We'll get into why or why not that is a good idea. So again, back to the table. Let's kick off our first topic of the day. Nancy Pelosi boxing impeachment. Big news or not? Jake,
Well,
Anibal, somebody.
It's big news. It's just not new news, I guess. Like you said earlier, I mean, they clearly don't have the votes in the Senate for impeachment. I think that, Mitch McConnell's basically come out and said this is not going to happen. Then you have the House, which I would say they probably do have the votes for it, but now I wonder if they do or not, because why would they bother to hide everything? And if you're not completely sure of what's going on, essentially in the past they've put the impeachment process vote up to a vote in the House, and it's the House's job to say, okay, we're going to impeach the president and move on with the process. There is nothing in the Constitution, by the way, that says that they have to do that, but they
Precedent says that they have.
precedence is, but there's nothing in the Constitution, and so
Correct.
we know that if it's not written down, politics people skirt around it, right?
Even when it is written
Even
down.
when it is written
Yeah.
down.
Still skirt around it.
So they're doing it all essentially the same way a grand jury would, right? Where you would hide it, kind of not. It's all done behind closed doors. They're doing their questioning of witnesses behind closed doors and everything, and they're kind of figuring out whether or not I guess they have a good case, and that's kind of where we're at.
Well, and that's I think if she would have, pulled the vote, but they were doing all of the impeachment process, the questioning the witnesses in front of the cameras and allowing the American public to see that, it would be different and it would show that they had a stronger case. But the fact that that's hidden from the public and then she pulls the vote, it makes it seem like they have a weak case. Because with Richard Nixon, by the time it would have come to a vote for him, it was very clear that the American public was behind impeaching him.
Yeah, bipartisan support.
The
and everything.
bipartisan support, and it was because the whole process was done in front of cameras for the American public to see, and it garnered support. So it really does make you feel like their case must be weak.
And
Well, that's you, Michelle. You just hit on the point that I've been making all along, which is that I don't think they have sufficient evidence to pull this off. They've
Yeah.
obviously got the talking points, and they've got everybody all worked up about it. But when the process actually takes place, if it ever takes place and sees the light of day, they are quickly going to realize they don't have the evidence to support what they're claiming. And I think that's a big part of the reason why a lot of these congressmen and women are being blocked out from seeing any of the paperwork that they've accumulated in this process so far.
Well,
But-
Republican Representative Gates was actually kicked out of a secret hearing.
Yeah.
Because of Schiff did not want him to question.
Yeah.
And so we already see the secrecy of what's happening. But you have to understand, the last 2 years, every time they've put someone on the witness stand to testify in front of Congress, it's been a disaster for the Democrats.
Yeah.
Every single time. And so now for them not to have that kind of embarrassment, I understand where Shifty Shift is coming from in regards to keeping it a secret, but it looks horrible. And again, the American people are not going to like it. They're not going to like the idea.
But isn't it?
Yeah,
Isn't
if
it?
the optics is bad, I understand
Yeah.
where they're coming from, but the
The
optics
are
is
horrible.
bad.
And that's
yeah.
all that's all
That's
that
really-
matters
that is
when it
politics.
comes to politics.
But this
Yeah.
is the whole thing about optics, right? I mean, so in Florida we've got the Sunshine State laws, and so people have to do everything out in the sunshine. They have to
We
be
know
done.
about those
Yeah.
laws
And
now.
and the thing is though is that I mean, like we're hosting a Tampa Young Republicans event where all the city council is going to be there next
Nice
Monday. Great plug. And then but we can't have them all even in the same place at the same time speaking about something without doing an entire process and it all being public and everything like that. I mean, and that is a public event anyway, and it's like we can't do that as something as simple as having city council come out and
City
talk to
council
us about
members,
what's going on.
Wait,
They-
again,
and this is the national level of impeaching the president, and you're telling me that we can't see what's going on.
I understand what they're trying to prevent. To be fair, is they don't want it to become a complete political, embarrassment, a circus. Because this is when, especially when you have so many Democrats running for president, that you don't want them, dressing down,
Yeah.
The witnesses and trying to get, the support of the public as, you often see them do. And it's like, that's just not helpful to the process. They're trying to get this done and they're trying to move forward. So I do understand. I have to be fair.
Well, if I was
with
a
that.
Democrat, I'd understand why we're doing it this way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But
exactly, yeah.
but it doesn't mean
Yeah.
as the American public we should do it this way.
yeah.
I mean, every time someone would come in, you would hear the morning reports. Oh, there's going to be a huge bombshell. There's going to be this
Yeah.
and that. It's going to be horrible for the president. And then come 6 o'clock in the afternoon, you're like, okay, nothing's happened. Or like you get really disappointed. But again, we all knew this was going to happen the day that Nancy Pelosi got pressured by AOC and the rest of the squad and other progressive Democrats to actually call for, okay, we're going to call for a vote. She would have waited 24 or 48 hours. She would have been able to read the transcripts from the Iranian phone call and know, okay, there's just not enough there. And then she waits, 2 weeks to even make a comment if they're going to have the vote, because we had time for the Trump administration to submit the letter saying that they're not going to participate. And then from there was a recess, so all the congressional delegations were able to go back home. They're getting yelled at from their constituents about this, and then they come back, and then 2 days later she said, okay, we're not going to have the vote. And I did a little bit of research. The majority right now is 31 seats are in the House for the Democrats. 26 of those are in districts that Trump won in 2016. And these are districts.
They're worried.
Michigan 8th, Illinois 14th, Pennsylvania 8th and 17th. You have California, seats in California up for play, Texas, New Jersey. And again, this is a rallying cry. If she would have forced them to have the vote, it would have been a disaster for those districts.
Yeah.
Now, something I'll say, though, is that while Nancy Pelosi doing this, it makes the Democrats look weak. Then you have on the Republican side, you have Mick Mulvaney going and giving that disastrous press conference,
which he has to walk back now.
He walked back like 2 hours later, which is a very difficult thing to do. He deservedly so got a lot of hate because he said one thing and then 2 hours later did a press release saying something completely opposite.
If you're not aware of what happened, Mick Mulvaney went and did a press conference, which Trump's personal attorney said that they were not aware he was going to do this. They distanced himself from him, and he went out and he was asked, I don't remember the exact wording, but you can look it up, and but the question was along the lines of, did you withhold the aid in order to for them to look into the claims about Joe Biden or corruption as a whole in 2016? And he said, yes, that's why we withheld the aid. That's it. And the reporter said, so you're admitting to the quid pro quo? And he says, yeah, it happened. This is what we do. And that was pretty much what he said, and so it was astoundingly shocking. And it really, everybody around Trump had to go and, walk back. And instead of even defending what Mick Mulvaney said and trying to justify it, as I've heard some other people do, which, kind of can make sense, then they're just distancing themselves from him and saying, like we don't know what he's saying. This is ridiculous. And Mick Mulvaney at the end of the day is just digging Trump's hole a lot.
What's funny though is that I think that when he came out and said that, I think that was my argument as soon as I heard the news though, right? I was like, they were like, oh well, we're withholding aid from this country because they're not doing X, Y, Z. And I was like, isn't that how all of the aid works for all of the countries that all 180 countries were involved with?
I think we forgot what quid pro quo means.
Yeah.
If I tell you I'm going to withhold spending, if I tell my wife I'm going to withhold spending, I love you, honey. I'm going to withhold spending money for her to spend unless she does X, Y, and Z. And I'm telling her this, that's a quid pro quo. Now, if I'm telling you I'm not going to give Jake money and Jake never knows I'm holding back money, is that really a quid pro quo? If you never know I'm holding money from you, that means you can't make that decision.
Well, and that's up for debate on whether they knew or not. I mean, but the really key thing here is that what you have to remember is what makes the act, because a quid pro quo in and of itself isn't illegal. Correct. You can do that. You can.
I wonder how many presidents in the past have done identical to this.
Oh my gosh.
And how many times throughout their presidency they do something very similar to this. Like, we're upset, or Democrats are mostly upset now because this is happening in Ukraine in America, right? But we don't care at all when we withhold aid or I don't know, fund an entire rebel group or something to overthrow somebody else in someone else's country. I mean, this has been going on year after year, day after day in American politics for a long time.
U.S. presidents endorsing presidential candidates of other countries. You would why are U.S. presidents endorsing other country presidents if they're not wanting to get involved?
Yeah. Well, let's just be clear though on what the issue is or what the impeachable offense is. The impeachable offense only comes in if the aid was being withheld to look into Joe Biden, specifically, somebody for his own political gain, because
as a 2020 candidate.
Yeah, as a 2020 candidate, because if you as the president want to look into, into corruption, into that's okay. You can do that because you're doing it as an agent of the United States of America.
I think a lot of people would argue that is what he's doing.
Well, but if he's doing it for his own political gain, to try to be, he's no longer doing it as the United States of America. He's doing it as Donald Trump, the 2020 candidate.
Well, this is the way that I heard it.
Comes in. I'm not saying what did or didn't happen. It comes down to, it really is going to come down to, do you give Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt that he wasn't intending this to be about specifically Joe Biden and for his own political
Well, but this
gain.
is the thing, is that Democrats for 2 years went after Donald Trump with something that they said was, look into the investigation of what Russia did to meddle with the 2016 elections. They did that for 2 years, and now here we are. And he said, hey, why don't you guys go back and look at the 2016 elections, but look at the other people involved. And now everyone's upset. And it's kind of...
And that's okay. If that was all he did, that's okay.
But that's where the transcripts are so important. If you read the transcript, you read where the flow of the conversation was going. It's not Trump saying, oh, I need you to look into this and this for this and this reasons. It was an organic conversation about congratulations on your election as the new president of Ukraine. We really want to make sure that you're doing X, Y, and Z. And then they're the ones bringing up conversations about Joe Biden in regards to the 2016 elections, of what they've been trying to give to the to the U.S. government about evidence of what they felt was happening in the 2016 election. And that was the kind of the conversation. It was never, well, I'm gonna with it never. And this is where Adam Schiff is getting the most blowback, is his recollection of what he thought the transcript was going to say. Again, he already knew that there was a whistleblower coming up into the in the field already before anyone else knew, because we found out that he was talking to them. Adam Schiff made it sound like on the call, Donald Trump was a Godfather situation. I'm not going to give you military aid until you investigate my competition. That's the verbiage that we were expecting.
He made it sound like Donald Trump was going to be like, that military aid you like, be ashamed if it disappeared. Like he made him sound like that's how it was going to be.
It was like a Scorsese movie.
Scorsese,
like that's what you were expecting.
Yeah,
and it didn't come true. I mean, right now Adam Schiff is getting censured by 173 Republicans because of the idiocracy that he has created and the circus that he has created.
Yeah.
Now, I think the most I have to say this, that the most problematic thing with this entire Ukraine situation is the involvement of Rudy Giuliani, because he is Trump's personal attorney. That is, to me, where the line does get crossed.
I would agree on that if Giuliani had just been getting involved as of September or August. But he has been in Ukraine since the beginning of the year trying to figure out what happened and if he can get the servers that have all the additional information. And that's my thing. If it was true, yes, he just got involved. He was going out. But if he has been, people have been having meetings in Rome since the beginning of the year. They're trying to figure out what really happened in 2016. That's my caveat. I understand where the issue is.
Yeah.
I completely agree that I don't like it either. However, it's been a long-term situation.
Yeah, and we've gone over this like 2 or 3 podcasts now because this thing hasn't died in a while. So
I don't think it's going to die in a while.
And I like that that's where our rift is in this group. That yes, again, we've always said this. If there was evidence, then let's impeach. I mean, that's what has to happen.
Yeah, and I think that that's what makes our group different than a lot of Republicans. Also, we're not in a position to be voted out of office, right? So that's the big thing, right? But I think I think that most Republicans up in the Senate and up in the House are probably looking at this, I would say, the same way we are. They're saying, well, maybe there is something here. Maybe we should hold the president accountable, but they can't come out publicly and say that, or else they're not going to get voted back, and they're going to get primaried.
Yeah. Well, no, and I think they have every right, and they should be waiting until there is, clear evidence to do so, because if not, then But
Republicans have been in full defense of this before facts or anything has happened, which again I'm fine with because I tend to agree with what's going on, but I think that from if you just take a step back and look at this analytically, like you'd step back and you go, well, let's gather the facts and then figure out what's going on.
Exactly.
And I think that's how I like to think that's how most Congress people look at it. But inwardly, not outwardly.
I think what's frustrating is that, a lot of, Democrats are sitting there and they're just like ready to impeach without question.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing on that side.
Day one.
Yeah, and it's like, even let's pretend that they weren't trying to do it for just because of who he was. They're just ready. They're like, oh, Ukraine call, done, impeach, he's over. This is the presidency. They don't even need to see evidence. And it's like, can we just wait a minute? Can we slow this down? And then it's like Republicans are getting lambasted for not calling for his head immediately. It's like, no, they have every right to wait to see all of the evidence. And
who said that is Mitt Romney, who is being just bashed on all Republican
destroyed.
forums
Which
and
I
all
love.
Republican
I
circles.
love Mitt Romney. I have loved Mitt Romney for a long time.
But especially after this report that just came out, it was a long form interview. I guess this reporter.
Oh, it's the best interview ever.
Was it the Post? I
It
think?
was Washington Post, I believe.
Yeah, so the Post had been following him around for some time, and then he kind of like teased or just like dropped a hint that apparently he had a fake Twitter.
He has a fake Twitter.
Not a fake Twitter account because it's a real Twitter account.
No,
but
he's
it's
got
a
a troll
secret
Twitter.
account.
Yeah.
Is it
and
his Twitter
It
account?
is.
And
It
it
is.
was his.
Twitter
I
Officially
even
his.
what was the name?
in
What
all
was the name again?
Oh, his name was like Pierre. What was it?
it's something French. I'll look it up.
Yeah, please look it
Of
up.
But-
course,
It was
it's
great.
French. Oh
Yeah.
my God! No, kick him out of office.
So
This
it's
is
now.
ridiculous.
So now it's. By the way, it's. You can go back and look. Kevin Durant.
No,
Mitt
all the
Romney.
tweets are
Mitt Romney.
all the tweets are protected now.
It's hilarious to me that you have all of these celebrities that go on get their fake Twitter, and then
They
they
just argue with
and they
kids.
but then they
They
just
get
argue
called.
with kids and they defend themselves.
Oh my
It's so
gosh.
funny.
I don't even. I'm not allowed a Twitter account. So
Mitt
I don't
Romney
know.
and Kevin Durant.
But-
Well, you know, my
Circle.
response, my initial reaction to the whole thing on Twitter was like, okay, the same people who believe that Romney had a fake Twitter account are the same people who thought Tom was their friend on MySpace, right? Like, it was just like, to me, Mitt Romney just didn't seem like the kind of guy that would waste his time on
he
something like that.
doesn't.
This guy has been a CEO of a major multinational company. You know, he obviously ran for president. He's now a U.S. senator, and the fact that he has the time to have a secret Twitter account just blows my mind. But again, nothing should surprise me anymore. But
Well, the president has time
love
to
me some
tweet
Mitt
200
Romney.
times a day, so
Yeah.
He also only sleeps like 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
well, that explains a lot.
But to bring
Yeah.
it back to try to bring this back.
Are
to
you
where
bringing this
we-
back?
I'm gonna try. I do believe that again. We've talked about this before. That and I pulled up the number. It's now day 1,176 of impeachment
Yeah.
that they've been trying to. So there was 100 Democrats from day one wanting to impeach. Hillary Clinton has been talking about that he's illegitimate this entire time. And as soon as the Ukraine thing, another 100 Democrats jumped on. So now you had 200. So they've been trying desperately because I don't think they believe that they can win in 2020.
I don't think so. And then
I
that
don't think
and,
they
No,
would.
they're
And-
still. They know they're weak, and look, when celebrities are coming out and even saying that the Democrats have no chance to win. I mean, mind you, these are people that just speak with little or no credibility, right? But when somebody even like Cardi B, who apparently now is quite
a
a
political
political figure, says, yeah, the Democrats have no chance to win. They're in serious trouble, and the biggest sign of that is the amount of money that they fundraised. He is virtually untouchable on the fundraising side.
yeah, and I think that you're seeing that when you have the entire half of the Democratic Party calling out Tulsi Gabbard as a Russian asset, which is a great
Yeah.
transition.
So that's
That
Wasn't our next topic, but let's go ahead and do
It's
it.
you're doing much better at this now. I think this is by far one of your best ones. Even though I gave it to you when I started talking about Clinton, so whatever.
We'll
Well, do you wanna-
I kind of liked the hard lefts.
It was
Just a fear.
The whiplash has been occurring. I will say this: when it comes to Clinton's comments, I think someone needs to go visit the nursing home and just see what's going on. Either it's ingenious. There's three things: either she is going crazy, she is wanting another run for 2020. Or it's book sales because her and her daughter are on tour for books and everything.
She doesn't
else.
need
It's
any
something-
more money.
Oh, the money's not the issue,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. So it could be either, and it's been horrible book sales, by the way, horrible. I couldn't even find it on the top 100.
I just want to see more pictures of her signing books at Costco.
Thought you were gonna say Tulsi.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah,
That's gotta be one of my favorite
I
pictures.
did not know where that comment was going to go or land.
But
That's got to be one of my favorite pictures of Hillary Clinton ever. Like
the one of her in the Costco?
sad. Oh yeah, she's like in a Costco and she looks miserable.
Yeah.
and she's signing copies of her book.
yeah,
that nobody wants.
that's a mighty has fallen move right there. You went
Yeah.
from the White House to
Like,
signing
yeah,
books in
just-
Costco.
I don't think I've ever walked into a Costco.
Oh
Well,
jeez.
Oh.
Well, that's because you're bougie. AF,
Well,
but-
no, I don't like shopping, so
Costco's
So let's-
the bomb. All right,
let's-
first of all, let's just say that.
It's
all right.
alright.
I
I'm
thought
not gonna
Sam's
put
was better.
Costco.
Oh,
They have-
Sam's has really good ices.
please, all right, everybody in the
so
comments, please let us know whether or not you'd prefer to shop at Costco or Sam's or
Or
not,
BJ's.
or none of them. Because honestly,
Whoa,
I
BJ's?
can't. the thing is, I can't shop at Costco or Sam's or any of those places because I'm one person, and if you go there, you need to feed a family.
Guys, we're
Isn't your
millennials.
fiancé
And
right next to you?
We're
She
millennials,
doesn't
and we
eat
believe
food
in.
with
She doesn't eat. Well, I
Look,
obviously
look,
eat food.
I have
We like minimalism. We
both
can't do
as
that.
as a single man and as someone who has resided with other individuals. I'll tell you, there's always a good time to go to Costco. I've had my Costco membership for years, and it always comes in handy.
Costco, if you're interested in sponsoring, please reach out to us. Thank you.
Yeah, but so anyway, anyone who doesn't have
Tulsi
any,
Gabbard.
but for people who have no idea what we even started on here, Hillary Clinton came out with a long tweet of about 3 or 4 tweets long. We condensed it into one tweet on Tampa Young Republicans page, so you can go on and look at it. Basically calling Tulsi Gabbard she's one of the leaders in the Democratic primary right now, and
She's not a leader.
She's not a
just
leader.
in it.
I'm calling her a leader
She's
because
in it.
I agree. She's in it. She's
She's
not.
in
a
it.
if you're
leader.
she's top 10. If I'm top 10 presidential, I'm leading.
There's 10 people. No, there's like 20 people in the.
There's 300 million in the country, and I would if I was in a position, I'd be like, I'm in a top position right now. But anyway,
She's not even polling above 3%.
That's because Google won't let her. But anyway, the point is though is that but this is the whole point is that so Hillary Clinton came out publicly and tweeted that Tulsi Gabbard is a Russian agent.
She's being groomed
and she's
for
being
her third-party candidate. I'm reading it.
And she's being groomed. Yeah, you want to read the whole thing
Yeah,
out?
go ahead and-
Yeah,
word for word?
She's a favorite of the Russians. They are a bunch of sites and bots that are on their way to support for her so far. And that's assuming that Jill will give it up, which is
God.
what it might have to be.
All right, don't ever do that voice.
But so
ever.
that's
it fell apart the Russians at the end.
So, but that's the whole. It's insane about this is that you have. I mean, you talk about like somebody interfering in this election or the last election. Like you have the former Democratic nominee last time around saying that one of the top 10 is a Russian agent. I mean, that's incredible. And then Tulsi came back and smashed her too.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's like a nuclear bomb. fell on top
Nuke
of
bomb. Yeah. Do you have that one up that you can
her. I
read
do,
to
but
people?
I don't know if I want to read it.
Oh, you definitely should.
But the most depressing part about all of this is
Hawaiian
that
accent.
Tulsi is truly maybe one of the 3 people that I believe are electable on the left. Okay, and
Yeah.
neither and none of those 3, by the way, here we get the 3 in there, are even in the top 3. So
7.
Pete Buttigieg, I think Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard are the 3 only electable people on the left, and they are doing everything they can to stop them from advancing in this
But isn't it
nomination. And
amazing?
sadly, Bernie's not going to win. Bernie's not going to win. They stopped him from winning the nomination last time. He may win the nomination this time, but he's not going to win the election.
Well, let's read what she.
Yeah, what
actually-
Tulsi responded with.
All right. Tulsi Gabbard said, "Great. Thank you, Hillary Clinton. You, the queen of warmongers, embodiment of corruption, and personification of the rot that has sickened the Democratic Party for so long, have finally come out from behind the curtain. From the day I announced my candidacy,
It wouldn't let me go.
And it basically goes on to the rest of it goes on to say that they've been working against her since she announced her candidacy.
Yeah.
Because what are you going to do if you're a Democratic primary in 2019, 2020 now, and you can't control who wins the primary? I mean, that's what they were doing the last time around. They rigged it so Hillary Clinton could win the primary, and now she's trying to stop somebody from the outside that's not part of this elitist group of Democrats in this party, and they're stopping her from
I actually
from taking
really
the
like
nomination.
Tulsi Gabbard.
I mean, I disagree with her on a lot. I disagree on her with a lot of
I
things,
just-
but
I
I
do
think that
too,
she's
but
at
I
least a
like
reasonable
her.
person.
Well, I think,
Yeah.
and she made a
I like her
comment
as a
that the
person.
reason why that she is being attacked so much is because of her position when it comes to foreign
Yeah.
wars,
Yeah.
getting our truth back and everything else. And she's like, I kind of agree with the current administration in regards to figuring out a way to back out of Syria. I mean, conversations today, like why do we have to be in Syria? Why do we have to be there for the rest of our lives? Do we have to be there for the rest of our lives? Because
Yeah.
there aren't even a government. And so we have to work with people that we are able to work with to be able to move out of those situations. Because again, they're going to be killing themselves for the rest of their lives if they have the choice. But the biggest thing that I had with her with Hillary's comment was the third party running, because she obviously either doesn't know history, that normally it's not the party that's out of power that creates the
Yeah.
third party candidacy. It's the party in power that creates
Yeah.
the third party
That's right,
candidacy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And and I had to think to myself, like, what is she talking about?
Yeah.
If we were going to get a strong third-party candidate, it would be upset Republican running as an independent.
Well, I think that's what she's kind of trying to almost accuse Tulsi Gabbard of being like a a very conservative Democrat. Like that's, I think she's trying to align her more closely
she called
in
her
that
a
way.
Russian agent.
Yeah.
I mean, that's absurd. I mean,
That's
that's
a long game. That's
It is
a long
a
game.
long
But how great is it for a Democratic candidate who's on that stage to call Hillary Clinton a warmonger, queen of warmongers?
Yeah.
I mean, that's fantastic.
Hey, my parents couldn't trust her because of the Watergate situation where you got kicked off of it because she was leaking stuff back then when she couldn't use email then. So I don't want to. It's beautiful. It really is. It's just beautiful to watch from our perspective as Republicans.
Because you're watching this and you're saying the same thing every week that we come up here and say. We go, this is why Trump is going to get reelected, guys.
I don't
this
see
is why.
anywhere else.
Here's what I'll say about the election is that I do think that a Democrat could surprise us and win, but the only person I really see making that happen is actually Joe Biden. And I know even with all this stuff coming up and everything, I just think that there's a lot of people out there who maybe voted for Trump and are Trump supporters, but quietly have kind of become disillusioned with the way that he acts in office. They might defend him all day, but they're like, in reality, I don't really like this, and I'm just sick of politics.
But Americans hate nepotism,
They
and
do
Joe
hate
Biden, who was the king of acting like he's your neighbor, he's the blue collar guy. I ride the train into Washington every single week. No one knew that his son was on the board of Amtrak, getting paid for that, and then on the board of in Ukraine, and then on the board of these Chinese events and everything else. And again, Americans hate nepotism. They hate the legacy building of someone not earning what they're getting.
But that's the thing is, I think if it was Hunter Biden running, then it's like he would have to stand no chance. But because it's Joe Biden, I think that people look at it and they go, well, during Barack Obama's presidency, I didn't hear about politics every single day. It didn't flood my newsfeed, and so a vote for Joe Biden to them, I think, for a lot of people, it's a return to normalcy. It's a return to the status quo versus this, complete. Because I think a lot of people voted for Trump to bring down the system and disrupt it.
I think that one of the things,
and now they want to kind of bring it back, and they're like, this didn't work. Let's
but I think that one of the things that I've heard that's kind of illuminating from some of my friends that aren't as involved with politics is that when I ask them and I go, hey, like, who are you going to vote for in the Democratic primary? Because if they're a Democrat, they go, I don't know, I haven't really been paying attention. And I think that there's a vast majority of Americans who are not paying attention to all of this stuff. And so when it does come down to the point where it's going to be there is actually somebody elected on the Democratic side, they're not even going to really notice any of this other stuff has been going on because they haven't been paying attention the same way we've been paying attention. And if you're watching the show, not the same way you've been paying attention either. That's not what the general American public is doing.
Yeah, and that's why I say, like, they're going to see Joe Biden's name and just go, oh, I know that guy. I liked him.
But this is the crazy thing is that these debates that they've been having have progressively gone down in ratings. I mean, virtually no one cares about what's happening in this Democratic primary. I think because most of them either think that Joe Biden's got locked up or that they're so out of touch with the American public that nobody really cares what they're saying because they're basically all chanting the same tune.
But remember, the people, and again, we are pretty active in the Republican Party, so we know in the primaries, it's a very usually right-leaning conservative person that wins through the primaries. The Democrats are going to have the problem where it only sounds like an extreme left candidate is going to be able to run and win because
that's terrifying.
And that's where Joe Biden is. Again, as we continue this whole impeachment process when it comes to Ukraine, something is going to happen, and it's hurting the shine. I mean, Joe Biden. This was last week's issue with Joe Biden not being able to fundraise whatsoever. It continued this week with I think he's third or fourth place in fundraising, and others. Warren is getting it. Bernie is getting it. But again, it's going to be a contest between Bernie and Warren because Warren is now on the top of the leaderboard when it comes to that. And she scares me completely because she sways so far in the political aspects.
That's because there's what she actually believes and then she knows what she's going to actually have to say to win. And those are two different things.
Well, see, but this is also what's really interesting about the dynamic between those two, right? Because ideologically, a lot of people put them in the same corner. But what's amazing is that the squad, so Ilhan Omar, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, these congresswomen came out and endorsed endorse Bernie Sanders over Elizabeth Warren, despite all the feminist movement nonsense that's going out, right? And so that says a lot about the fact that I truly believe that they think that she's as phony as her claims about her background, and that they don't think that she has what it takes, because Bernie is going to stick to what Bernie does. He's not going to change his talking points. He's not going to change his positions. They believe, and I actually had another friend of mine who does follow politics say to me that once she gets in the primary, that she's actually going to move to the center. And from a Warren, I would totally buy that. I think she'll say whatever she has to say to get elected. But Bernie, on the other hand, is going to stay Bernie, and he's going to do his thing. And I think that's what's going to cost him the election.
Yeah,
Bernie will lose in the primaries. I think Joe is getting hurt every single day. We keep on talking about Ukraine and his son and everything else.
Yeah.
So Warren has nothing but to go up. Some of the other ones, they're going to make it even more difficult for the other 7 to 12 candidates. I mean, we have 2 governors in the race, for crying out loud. I have no idea who they are. And so that's just it's starting to become...
It's all the more reasonable ones that you don't know about. It's all the ones. It's the ones that are like a governor of like a decently run state. And then they like get no time at all.
Which usually used to be what would happen.
Yeah.
We would elect governors to become president because they've actually hired and fired people and they have that kind of experience. What's going to happen is, yes, I think what's going to happen, Joe is going to lose the primary. Warren or someone else might win the primary, and then they're going to, of course, they're going to pander to the center, but they're going to have to pander so far to the center that it undercuts their entire base.
Yeah.
The Democrats right now are dealing with exactly the problem that cost Mitt Romney the presidential election. It's that the Republicans used to have to go so far to the loony right that when they would try to come back to the center, no one believed it. And you're going to see the exact same thing with the Democrats. They're going so far to the pretty much the fascist left that they, the radical left, that when they try to come back to the center, people are going to call them flip-floppers and no one's going to believe them. It's the exact same problem. We're going to see that coming up.
And we all remember, and I hate that people try to say how innocent and how nice Joe is. Joe's not nice. We all remember the statement that he made about Mitt Romney of him wanting to put people back in chains and him putting their dogs on roofs and everything else and having folders.
That's a funny story, though.
Oh, they're hilarious, but they were also very cruel and inappropriate. Putting black people back in chains, that's literally what Joe Biden said about him. And so these are
he felt empowered to play the race card because he was obviously running with Obama at the time, but it goes to show you that the whole Uncle Joe persona is literally just that. It's not who he really is as a person.
And where is President Obama in all this?
I mean, he's gonna stick. He's busy in Canada.
All right, so real quick,
of course, Canada.
I want to jump over to our comment section. We are simulcasting this broadcast not only on the Yard Sign on Facebook and YouTube, but also on the Tampa Bay Young Republicans page. So I want to thank everybody for watching. We've got Jessica Piscotto, who says to keep her in the loop on when the next Trump rally is here in Tampa. I'm sure it's going to be another sellout crowd, as he's done the past few times that he's been here in town. We've actually got people saying they're Team Tulsi and that she should jump to the Republican side. She's modern enough where I think she could bend on certain issues and still be safe. And it wouldn't be the craziest thing to happen.
I think she'll be the
Charlie Crist.
I think she'll be I think she'll
so.
be the first Republican from Hawaii if she does that. Honestly, but even if she does do it, she won't pull enough to make an impact on it as a third-party candidate. Everyone thinks Ross Perot pulled it from Bush Sr.
No, she doesn't have that kind of appeal.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Ross Perot was a multi-billionaire who was always an independent until 2000 when he actually became a Republican. But again, she doesn't have the money. She doesn't have the backing. She has the look and the appeal and everything else, which might actually...
She definitely has the look.
Yeah.
Well, and then the last comment we have here so far on our Facebook feed is from Ernesto de Borganes, and he's saying that really for the Democrats, this is all about maintaining their confirmation bias, and their closed feedback loop, basically, which, is, again, something that I've said quite a bit. All this is doing is trying to move the needle, for the election, and they're going to keep this impeachment thing going as long as they can, as long as they think that it's going to help them move the needle in the election.
It's not doing anything but depressing the Democrats.
I think it's time to move the needle away from this topic.
I
Yes.
think let's move to Project
So,
Veritas and
yeah.
the CNN exposure.
Which was actually our second topic, by the way.
Yes.
You
Well,
know,
I didn't know that they
thanks
go in
to-
order. Okay, I thought that we just list them all.
All right, so
I thought we'd do it based off of my transitions.
Your
So a little
transitions are
back,
horrible.
a little backstory for those of you who may not be familiar with Project Veritas. Project Veritas was founded by James O'Keefe back in 2008, 2009, I think. He basically, as more or less a college kid, did these undercover sting videos where he took down an entire nonprofit called Acorn, which was giving all kinds of government resources to people, he had a girl playing a prostitute and he played a pimp, and it looked like a terrible SNL sketch. But it worked. They
an SNL
revealed
sketch.
all this corruption around the
normal
country,
SNL
and so he's kind of been doing this thing for a long time now. But the big news this week was, of course, that he busted. A whole number of people over at CNN, basically just revealing what we knew, which is that they hate President Trump and they're going to do everything they can to take him down.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of why, like, when they were kind of like teasing this leak. If you follow Project Veritas on Instagram or whatever, and a lot of people that around him were teasing it, and when I watched the videos, I was not surprised. I wasn't shocked. Like, I didn't really think that I saw anything that I was like, I can't believe this is what goes on at CNN.
Yeah, but you have to take yourself out of. I watch this all the time. We're kind of connected to the politics, so we're always seeing it.
But
I usually ask a friend of mine that's never seen it, like, what do you think about CNN? And then watch it. They're like, what? There's not independence. Like, we were just watching CNN on the airport, and they're just assuming that it's non-biased.
Yeah.
But these are the videos that when you start sharing them and everything else, then people really start understanding. Oh my gosh, there is.
I guess that's
big
true.
bias.
You do have to look at it from a view
Yeah.
that's not like I know this is happening.
And like
Yeah.
CNN is, I guess that a lot of people do look at CNN because it is, honestly, half the time it's because it's played in the airports and people are like, this is real news. But they are they've become nearly the liberal equivalent to what Fox News is for the right, and they are
Infotainment.
yeah, it's it's infotainment completely, and that's they are the sensationalist media. Like, if you want to see a great clip of television, go and watch Jon Stewart on Crossfire. This was back in 2010 or something like that. It was Tucker Carlson and Chris Matthews.
Not sure.
I can't remember who
Yeah.
the other one
It was
was.
the bald guy. He passed away a few years ago.
Oh, okay. Well, they, he goes and he lambasts them for being just purely sensationalist media, in that, in trying to disguise themselves as real news and having real, unbiased opinions or slightly biased, debate. And it's like that. And that was, maybe 8 to 10 years ago when that happened, and CNN has just, instead of listening to Jon Stewart plead with them to stop because they are hurting the country, they went, nah, John, we're going to keep rolling. And they kept going with it, and then they play clips of Trump every single day when he's running. They make fun of him. They're like, oh, this is, look at this guy. Who does he think he is? But they keep talking about him and keep talking about him. And now they're like, okay, well, now that he became president, we have to take him down. And it's like, it's your fault. They even say it in the video. They're like, oh, well, I think the media, we really created Donald Trump. And it's like, and they're like, we need to do what we can to fix the problem. It's like, yeah, but you're not fixing it. You're still doing the same things. You talk about him every single day.
It's
nonstop.
It's one person dictating an entire newsroom of how they're supposed to report it, and no one wants to see that. No one wants to hear, even if they think it is happening. No one wants to see it happening, and that's what happened.
And this is what's happening at all these major news outlets nationally, because you have, take the New York Times editor just came out recently too, and he said that what his quote was everything should be looked at through the lens of slavery or something like that.
Yeah, the 1690 Project, and they were like, someone said even our regular stories, and he was like, yes.
Yeah, and he's like, it's like that's fine to do a segment on that, right? But he's dictating how you should be doing journalism, right? And it's the same thing that's happening at CNN, where he's sitting on their earpiece while they're talking to them, and he's like, tell them this, tell them this, tell them. I mean, it's like you said, it's one person dictating the narrative.
His name's Jeff Zucker, and apparently, I didn't know this. I found this I found this really interesting that he has a personal vendetta against Trump because he worked on The Apprentice with him. And so it's like, yeah, I guess it's like, that's, you can easily see how things would go wrong there.
Now,
so it's just, but to completely dictate your network based on that, that's not.
well, and I'm going to play a bit of devil's advocate here, okay? Because Trump is not innocent in all of this, all right?
No.
From day one in his
Trump has never been
candidacy.
innocent
Now, don't
of
get me
anything.
wrong. Like, you really have to actually rewind the tape even further back from the election. You got to go back to the correspondence dinner that Trump was at, where they basically, made fun of him on national television. I think that's where all this started. And so
absolutely.
he made the media. Trump has made the media enemy number one from the first day of his campaign.
Trump has made the media his
and
bitch.
it's
That's
worked to
what's
his
really
advantage.
happened.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, but
what's
that
really
rivalry
happened.
works to his advantage. The fact that there is this evil out there. It's the classic hero versus anti-hero or villain kind of dynamic. And the media, he places the media as the villain in that scenario, and it works for him.
But he has always known how to play media. He's always known how to play social media.
Of course.
He's been in movies. I mean, rappers were talking about him for decades. He's been in movies for decades.
He's been
talking
doing
about
it for over 30 years.
And that's why these politicians have yet to figure out what to do and how to defeat and how to spin Trump, because you can't spin him.
Yeah.
You either are just you're either passive and you just try to not have to deal with him directly and just talk politics or policy, or you come after him directly, and no Democrat is able to come after him directly. And that's the problem they have.
But to get back to Project Veritas, like what they're doing is actually very good work. Like they're doing real whistleblower work, and they are actually uncovering corruption at every different, at not just one place. They're looking at your news stations. They're looking at your acorns, government agencies that may be misspending funds. I mean, they're really all over the place, and they've become a really good centered area for whistleblowers to go if they don't want to go to necessarily their network or their the government to do it.
Yeah, and it's real. I wish they had been doing this longer. I wish 10 years is great, but it's like it just the media. I have really had a deep issue with the media for a long time because of the sensationalism, and because it's like I wanted to be a journalist, and I literally got out of journalism because of CNN. Because when the Boston bomber situation was happening, I was working at ABC Action News in Tampa, and everybody's running around like chickens with their heads cut off trying to get the story out, and Wolf Flitzer is playing on TV going, we don't know. We currently do not know the race of the attackers, and we cannot tell you if they have facial hair or not. And it's like, so you're saying we don't know the race of the attackers, but I don't know if they have facial hair, which is pretty much code for, are they, Muslim terrorists or not? And it's like, turns out they're two white guys. They were Muslim, but still, and they did not have beards. But it just was that just jump to trying to get this story out. And my newsroom is going, we have to get the story out. CNN's going to go live. And it's just like, no one had the facts and no one cared. And I was just like, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. Like the real facts don't matter. And it's just, it's very,
it's agenda driven. That's all.
Yeah, it's agenda driven, and it's just, it's unethical, really, at the end of the day, because you're publishing things that aren't true.
There are ethical shows out there, like the
there
Art
are.
Sign, and that are out here with very little research and absolutely.
I do a lot of research.
And,
what are you talking about?
absolutely nobody in our ear is telling us what to say here.
It's always one of us.
Well, because we can't afford the little earpiece thingies, but we're working on it.
But no one's telling us what to say. It's a genuine conversation about these issues, and that's the whole idea behind the show.
But we don't pose ourselves as a real news show. We are.
I do.
We are an opinion podcast.
I am basically the news. My opinion is like the news.
Jake is the Walter Cronkite of our generation.
No, that's
Oh, wow.
I'm not.
Now I see why she's engaged to you.
No.
She strokes the ego. That's all you got
That's
to do.
absolutely
That's
not
really
true.
good.
That's all. That's
we're
all.
5 minutes away
Ladies,
from a huge
ladies,
gig.
that's all you got to do. Just stroke the ego. Just stroke the ego. That's all. All
I
right.
will
So,
say, but I do
shocking.
Agree, I do agree with you with
Oh,
CNN.
come on.
And the reason, and I know, I have
You've
to
said
get this
everything
out.
there is to say on this. Go ahead.
Because what really turned us off to this kind of news reporting, and I think it really started with the Olympic bombing, where they just
Oh,
focus
you're right.
on what, and the movie's actually coming out on it, where they focus on the security guard that actually found the bomb and was able to get people out of the way before it detonated. And then the news media just turned on him. And I was trying to do some research real quick to see if it was CNN or not that actually did it. I cannot say it was, but they just turned on him. And just because they needed someone to talk about, and they just needed someone to fill the air, that they just focused on him as the person. At the end of the day, it wasn't the person, it wasn't him, it was someone else. But they've done this so many times where people their lives get destroyed because they're automatically assumed.
Yeah.
Even with the Boston bombers, they were picking out people in the audience.
I mean,
in
there's
the-
so
in-
many
in the
examples of
crowd.
this.
Yeah.
Say, oh, look at these two people, see who they are. And the news is doing that.
It's
Yeah.
not, it's not
And
the,
it's not the police.
Yeah, and it's derailing real police investigations.
And when you have-
that's really the problem.
And so when you
like-
have like, again, I talked about this last week on the podcast about how Democrats are calling for people like Facebook and stuff to regulate fake news
Oh my
on their
gosh.
sites or regulate the ads and the political conversation on their. It's like go and do the same, hold the same standards to your news stations, and they're not. No one's calling for that because they're all leftists.
Kamala Harris is the one that's telling Twitter that they need to do the right thing
Yeah.
and get rid of Trump's Twitter account.
Yeah.
This is the reason why no one's going to vote for you.
She
And this
said
is
that? I didn't know
yes,
that.
no
Oh my
one's going to
God.
vote for you because you yourself are trying to censor someone else's free speech.
The president.
Yeah.
Which is never going to happen. So you're either saying it out of ignorance or you're saying it because you want to make a point to seem that you're going to fight Donald Trump and hit back. Woman, you can't even get a 5% of the vote at the moment. So I don't even know why she's still in there. She got who destroyed her like 2 debates ago. It was
Tulsi?
was it Tulsi also?
I think it was Tulsi.
Oh.
She went after her.
She's doing good. Maybe she is a Russian agent. It's a long game. The
right.
Russians play a long game every
I
day.
think,
All right,
I
next
think we're
up.
Good.
Let's we got about 10 minutes left or
Talking
so.
about
We're gonna
cults.
go ahead and
Yeah, speaking
shift
of
to we're gonna go ahead and shift to our local topics. And so the big news being, and again, if you've been paying any kind of attention as to what's been happening in Clearwater, it should come to no surprise. But not only is now the Clearwater City Council run primarily by Scientologists, but they now own pretty much all of downtown Clearwater. And that's not an exaggeration. You know, Tampa Bay Times has a great write-up on this. Is this something to be concerned about? Should we be worried that a questionable religion, to put it lightly, owns and controls the majority of one of our cities?
Well,
Yeah, so
let's make this point real quick. I don't think they have a majority on the city council.
I think that
they
I
do.
think that
They-
almost
on the
First
city
time.
council.
I think that almost everybody in any sort of position of power in downtown Clearwater, anyone that owns a business there, anything, you don't even realize that they're all Scientologists.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're gonna get banned in China and in
We're gonna get
Clearwater.
Clear.
What are you talking about? We were talking crap about Hillary Clinton. We're gonna have to do a disclaimer later on.
No,
so to
what's
make sure
funny
our
is that
cars don't get bombed.
If you hang out in downtown Clearwater and you look around and you think, man, there are a lot of waiters and waitresses just kind of walking around. No, those are your Scientologists. They're all in black slacks, white shirts, and black ties, and they look like servers at a restaurant. But they are everywhere, and it's bizarre.
I mean, so this is the thing. This is what the issue is that
What's the
it's,
meat and potatoes?
well, first off, like Johnny said, go to Tampa Bay Times, go watch the video. It's
Read the-
public.
read
it's
the-
public
Oh,
record.
it's a
Read the
great-
article
it's a
that
great
was
article.
written by a personal friend of mine, Kirby Wilson. It's a great article with the Tampa Bay Times.
He has they have the video. It's like from the public hearing, and it's somebody who's very anti-Scientologist versus one of the city council people who are very high up in the Church of Scientology, and they're going back and forth, and like one of them calls each other like they. It is so inappropriate. It is so fantastic. Like if it's not picked up on national news by tomorrow, I'm going to be really surprised. Like it is, it just goes back and forth, and they're arguing essentially over Scientology and then like kind of like what goes on behind the scenes in the church. And the issue is here is that like I said, most business owners, people, everything, like people maybe even watching the show are Scientologists because we interact with them, and that's the majority of downtown Clearwater now, which is a pretty large city. What's tough about it, and it's like I don't necessarily agree with their religion, but at the same time, there's a group of people who don't really do any harm to anybody. Like they don't necessarily like go out like advocating for like the removal of other races or religions or something like that, right? Like they're their religion is kind of culty.
They only hurt their own members, by the way.
Yeah.
They only hurt their own people.
Well, but it's because it's kind of culty. Like, but at the same time, it's like, well, they've won every major legal battle that's ever happened as far as religion goes, and it's like so the one of the points that the city councilman made, he said, if you replace Scientologists with any other religion, Jews, Christians, whatever. It's like, it sounds really bigoted when you say it, and so I thought that was a really interesting point. Like, again, I don't necessarily agree with them at all, but it's interesting to hear it that way.
When you hear that, and at first you go, "Oh yeah, he makes a point. Maybe we should lay off a little bit." But then when you sit there and you remember that their religion, actively they do not allow people to know any information about what they're learning unless they pay money. They actually have to spend money.
That's like Amway.
Yes, that's one thing. But then on top of that, you have where they actively have been known to completely cut you off from your family.
Yeah.
I mean, my family has a friend that his daughter got involved in the church Scientology. He had to pay $1 million to get her out. That's not a lie. That is an actual statement. So, because she was completely cut off, and he had to take her to therapy to get her essentially deprogrammed. And this isn't just one story in a vacuum. Over and over again, people are getting cut off from their families. They're getting put in re-education camps. And they're being put on a boat and sent out into the middle of the ocean off the coast of like the Philippines, where they are being re-educated and they come back with an awful lot of bruises. So it's like
conversion therapy.
Exactly. And it's like this, and you can say, oh, well, they're willingly joining the church, but it's like any other religion. Ask yourself, will your religion let you leave? Will your religion let you speak out against it? Are you able to say, I'm not sure if I believe this, or is this right? Most religions, by and large, will at least let you do that. You have, I would say
there's some Muslim sects that won't let you.
And those
or your Jehovah's Witnesses that bar you from the community.
But in those ones, and those are the ones that you start to go, hey, I'm not sure that that's okay. And I would say that about any religion, that if you cannot question them, if you cannot, if you get cut off from your family, and if you have to pay to be, to know even what you're believing, that's incredibly problematic.
And a great foundation, but just as a side note, a great foundation to what Michelle's talking about is the Leah Remini documentary or TV show, where she talks about her experience, and then she brings in along, over a dozen people at least, to talk about their experiences with the Church of Scientology, and then throughout the show, the dynamic of them trying to make this documentary. It's fascinating, and it's well documented. And I think that there is going to come a day where it's all revealed and it's all going to come crumbling down. But the fascinating and brilliant part on their strategy in terms of growing their church and funding their church has been real estate, and they are, I believe, the largest holder of real estate by any religion in the world.
Yeah, this is the
Catholic Church.
The Catholic Church is the largest. I will say this: the Church of Scientology is a mixture of an abusive husband, a pimp, and is 2 steps away from Adidas, everyone having Adidas shoes. And so that scenario, it's the cult situation.
We're gonna let Anibal have his Anibal attic right now. Do you have the graphic?
But it's all about the money. It's all about the money. They'll tell you that they have about 10 million members around the world, which really it's like maybe 30 at the most. It's not crazy. It's like 30,000. It's not crazy. What is funding this whole situation is money.
Just Tom Cruise.
They don't. What?
It's just Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise.
It's just Tom Cruise.
It's the very wealthy do fund the majority of the church.
But that's because they make a lot.
The endowment in that they have right now is like over $3 billion.
Yeah.
So that's what's funding, and that's what they've talked about. What they want to create.
But so this is the thing.
That's what they want to create. Clearwater for. They want Clearwater to be turned into, because all the people fly into Clearwater.
But this is the problem, though. Is that
I grew up in Clearwater, and I don't want my hometown to be just only like. I don't want one religion to own the entirety of Clearwater and Clearwater Beach. It's like that should be still not that they can't own some of it, but it's scary to have them
scary,
own
but
all
as
of it.
Republicans, we cannot be in a position to say that they don't have a right. Now,
no, they have a right to own some of it. There should just be.
But that's it. You're putting limits on what someone can. I'm the farthest person to say that a religion should not be. That is not. Scientology is not a religion, but legally and for tax purposes, they're allowed to say it. However, I cannot in good faith say that they shouldn't do what they're wanting to do. They should be able to buy whatever they want to do.
I think they should. I just think that other people, I think that citizens of Clearwater should be more, awake to realizing that, what's going on, and should actually band together and make a concerted effort to try to defeat it, which I think is what you're seeing in that article.
But that's the whole thing, is that it's mostly just
but
all.
This isn't the first article.
But what this is
Yes,
this
it
is the
first
thing.
article.
It's just a numbers game, right? I mean, like when you have a large group of people move into an area. I mean, this is what happened in Utah. I mean, all the Mormons moved to Utah. They own that state basically. I mean, they get all power because everybody thinks the same thing. I mean, ethnic groups move into certain areas and then they take over the politics of that area.
But would you
because they're
consider Scientology a Scientologist an ethnic group?
No, it's not ethnic. I'm just saying though that, but groups of people move into different places and they take over the politics of that area, and that's what's happened in Clearwater. And unless you get a whole bunch of Christians to move into downtown Clearwater and try and fight them, I mean, you're going to see them on the city council. You're going to see them making decisions.
Scientologists, people of
but
from like
a policy, like what are you supposed to do? You vote them in and you vote them out.
No policy.
I mean, I don't live in Clearwater. I'm not moving to Clearwater.
And again, this has been a long-term game. They moved in there in 1975.
Yeah.
They've been purchasing.
Exactly.
I think over 50% of the properties they bought were in the last 3 years. They have 185 properties and this is the definition of the church that owns it, and then companies that are run by people that identify as Scientologists.
But if you identify as Scientologists, you essentially give almost everything to the church.
But at the end of the day, yes, and I agree that that's what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, you cannot bar people from purchasing property and everything. And don't get me wrong,
exactly.
It's super fishy what's happening.
Okay, but
people are buying properties 4 times the land value of what that's actually going to get. They're getting pushed out. These lots are not being redeveloped. These laundromats are not being recreated for something. It's disgusting what's happening in downtown Clearwater because of the rot of some of these places. And really, I think it's more of a buffer. The city pushed back on what Scientology wanted to do. So what does Scientology do? They go full force and do what they always do, and they throw their money around and buy up the cities, up the downtown core, and now they own the downtown core.
Okay, but so to your point, and you were right earlier, then can you make the same argument about the Catholic Church and the amount of land that they own, and is it inappropriate for a church to own that much land?
Well, and that's why we have a separation. Number one is separation of church and state. I don't care how religious you are and how much you think that the country is founded on certain this and that. I mean, like, there's a reason why there's a separation between church and state, because if you don't have that, a religion that you don't like could take over a city and start implementing their belief system.
Yeah,
so
that's the key, is as long as the Scientologists don't start implementing their beliefs in like Clearwater law, or maybe.
But I don't know what this policy is like. What that
looks
like.
The separation of church and state is not in the Constitution. It's not in the Constitution. It's in a letter that someone wrote, and there is a part in the Constitution that the country will not dictate what religion.
It says that shall have no actual
religion. So there is no definition of no. It's not. The U.S. government cannot say everyone has to be Catholic because the U.S. government is Catholic. That's where it says.
Yeah.
But separation of church and state is not a thing in the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. I agree with you that.
I think the First Amendment is often interpreted though as a
we're going to end up in a
but
conversation.
It's not a part.
But we are going to end up in a conversation that's another hour-long podcast.
We could say we're not Scientologists. We don't agree with their position. So our bias is saying that they should not take control of what's happening in Clearwater.
They can have control of it. They just shouldn't make policy that if they make policies.
But we haven't seen that.
But what kind of policies? What kind of policies do Scientologists want people like? You only are allowed to wear.
All I'm saying is
slacks?
that
like what?
That could be it. All I'm saying,
a mandate slacks only.
That's the line. Which, by the way, if anyone here does know what the hierarchy of the pants colors is, I've always wanted to know.
There's a hierarchy of the pants colors.
There is.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because there's like
or ties.
It's definitely pants colors. There's red pants and green. I saw one pair of I think they were like green pants one time, and I was like, who is he? He's important because I've never seen green pants. So if you're in the know, please contact the art sign. I have some questions. Contact Michelle Sassouni.
I'm wearing my green pants tomorrow. That's all.
Scientology is doing nothing but if they want to buy property legally and they're purchasing everything else,
and they want to run for city council, they can run for city council.
I just think we need to keep an eye on it. I think the people of Clearwater should be more concerned.
The people of Clearwater should move.
The people of Clearwater have made their decisions. They allowed their city to be turned into the way they did. And this isn't the first time we've talked about this as a region, we've had these conversations before. Like, leave them there, let them take over Clearwater.
Yeah, the problem becomes
Ybor City. Like, that's been a larger conversation.
the problem becomes now is anyone who is not of that religion, are they going to be able to be elected to that city council?
Well, no, but if I ran in a if I ran as a Jewish candidate in a completely 100% Christian Catholic, district, I'm probably not going to get elected.
No, I don't believe that. I don't buy that.
I don't believe that.
Now Muslim
Versus-
maybe, but in a Catholic or Christian community, I think you'd be
versus
fine.
a Christian or Catholic.
Yeah, no, I think you'd be
candidate,
fine
you
in a
think?
Christian Catholic community. I think you'd be
Because
fine.
they'll-
Now, if you're in
we
a
hate each
heavily
other. You'd be very easy.
No,
to be
one
elected.
or the other, not both. Like if you as somebody who is a different religion walks into a district that is only solely another religion, you don't think that you have a worse chance of winning that district than somebody that's running as that part of that community?
So here, I'll asterisk my comment with this. At the local level, yes, I don't think you're going to have a problem. Where you are going to have a problem is at the national level, and I think a perfect example is Mitt Romney, who we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Republicans had a really hard time wrapping their head around electing a Mormon as the party's representative
I think
for president.
if I run for governor of Utah, I'm not getting elected.
No,
Well, you live
but that's
here,
still-
so that's not
I'm
gonna
not
happen.
Mormon. I'm not Mormon. If I'm not, I think that there's
Is the
an
governor
inherent
of
bias.
Utah Mormon?
I absolutely imagine so.
Well, we can easily
Look it
solve
up.
this question.
Well,
right,
I mean,
let-
just saying, because I thought of this, that is the same issue as, if you're white and you run in a majority, a majority black, area, you're going to struggle to win. It's the same thing as, if you're black and you run in a majority white country, you are going to struggle.
But that's my whole point is that it's based off of the region. It's based off of
It is.
who, like, if people similar to you are voting in that city council race
You'd
in
be
Clearwater.
surprised how many white Democrats are representing majority black districts.
That's not the
within
same.
congressional
But
and
that's not the same
Senates.
thing. That's not the same thing as running versus somebody else. That's of that. I mean, that they could have easily gotten in there because that's who was up as a candidate. That's not the same as running versus somebody with an evil. Move to Clearwater and try and take your religion to Scientology.
There are plenty of Christians that live in Clearwater, but the problem is people are not voting because of their faith. They're voting because of people making comments and wanting to build up. Now, Scientologists are doing what they want to do. Is they want to build a community. They want to be a part of a larger network. And people that are Scientologists are going to move to Clearwater, are going to move to other parts of the country that they feel more comfortable with. That's why we have Jewish communities. That's why we have Catholic communities.
But my issue with Scientology, though, is that they are committing systematic abuse of their members, and members are being hurt.
But members are
being
still staying. And they're
that's
getting
an
more
abuse
members.
But that's an abuse.
Of
You're saying
all
an
of
abuse
this stuff,
of
people are
white.
still getting
But
even
if
more
a
members
woman-
because of it.
But if a woman's being
But they're not
abused,
doing anything-
but she's staying.
But
That
unless-
doesn't-
unless-
what I'm
but
saying-
unless
what I'm
something's
saying is
illegal is happening.
If you want to say that something illegal is happening, then let's bring up the lawsuit and let's move it
Yeah.
forward
But no
that
one-
way.
But no one will testify because they're terrified.
But that's
Hence why I said Scientology is a mixture of a pimp and an abusive
Exactly.
husband,
By the way,
and
there's
they're
a-
missing Adidas shoes.
So
All right.
We're right there.
There's a
Oh my
great
God.
meme. There's a great meme on the it's either St. Pete meme page. If you're not following St. Pete memes or Tampa Bay memes on Instagram, they're fantastic.
I think
It's
memes
very-
of Tampa Bay is
memes of Tampa Bay. Yeah, they're very relevant, and they've got one, and it's like the all of the rest of the community is like looking at a dumpster fire of Clearwater and the Scientology, and then like we're just like swinging along doing our own thing.
Hey,
It's great.
I'm not going to say that I don't want what's happening in Clearwater to continue. What I'm saying is I would rather that happen there than again, just get out of Ybor. Just get out of Ybor. That's all I ask. I need the parking so I'm able to.
But
like,
they actually
a good
have. I
time.
think they've pulled back a little bit. Obviously, they still have that large building, but I think for the most part,
lot of it
they've
has
pulled
pulled
out.
back.
of-
We should pitch
Clearwater.
in. We should pitch in and buy back Clearwater.
Oh,
I don't think
that'd be a nice campaign. That'd be an interesting
would be-
campaign.
buy back Clearwater.
We just want to
Yeah.
buy the.
Yeah.
We just want to buy back Winter.
But
in
again,
the
but
Dolphins.
that's
All
but
right,
again,
so-
Scientology
Winter
is
Towers
not
now, it'd be too
is not
expensive.
purchasing for the purpose of building up. They're purchasing so there's a buffer,
Yeah.
so they don't have to deal with other people, and that's what other communities do.
Yeah.
So I don't have an issue with
That's
it. I
what-
do see that there's a problem.
Yeah.
Again, I've already given you my analogy what I think the Scientologists are, but until
Yeah,
it's-
but when
it's
you
still
start to control the
illegal-
government, when you start to control the
Then no
government,
one's gonna-
then you also start to control the police, and you start to control
Exactly.
the other entities who are going to look the other way at the abuses that they are continually accused of, and that's the problem.
brought down people and
But look at-
societies
yeah,
in the past.
Look at the FLDS out in they were I don't know if they were in Utah or they moved to to Arizona or New Mexico because the actual like regular Mormons were like, kind of ousting them, and they were the leader Jeff. I just blanked on his name. But he he was having sex with minors like all the time. Like he had like 15 wives. I mean, just you know what I'm talking about?
I do know.
Yeah, I can't remember what his name is, but it's the FLDS sect of Mormonism, and it was and he eventually got brought down, and it was a horrible case. And I worry that I mean, based on what I've heard about Scientology and what I know from other people that have been in
the direction
church,
that cults end up going into.
Yeah,
they use Nike instead of Adidas. What I'm going to say is
Like
we
that-
don't.
All right,
we don't.
All right, we're
want
gonna
this
have
turn-
to. We are
we
gonna have to.
can't- The
jump
government
in.
should not get involved in these situations because that's that's how you get a Waco. You don't want this to escalate any further than it needs to be when it comes to government interference.
Could you
Yeah,
imagine
but
a
they
bunch
are
of
abusing
Scientologists-
people.
Oh my God.
It
A
is
Scientologist
running right through.
a tank going over that horribly constructed bridge and just trying to take out a bunch of
make
Scientologists.
jokes about
That Tom
our
Cruise is on top of his penthouse on top. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, you are
I
done.
got it.
I was just
Hey,
gonna
Johnny,
say. I
let's
mean,
continue.
like I really wanted to wrap this topic up, but I mean, given all the things that they have been accused of, do you not think that the government should get involved to try to at least determine one way or another
They should get-
whether or not
No.
this is a valid religion?
They should get involved.
No. They scared the IRS. Anyone that can scare off the IRS,
That's
you
that's
do
the thing.
you.
You don't want the government
Catholic
coming
Church
in.
and the Scientology.
So you think that the government should bend to a religion?
I think the government
Well, do you-
needed to make that claim that yes, it is a religion. Because it is a religion, it does have different protections under the law, and because of those protections under the law, it is allowed to do what it's doing.
there's
now.
a precedent
Now,
there, like
are
you
they-
No,
want-
there's no religion where it's allowed
There's
to
no
abuse it.
religion- no,
There is no
no,
religion
no,
where
no,
you
no.
are allowed to
There's-
abuse your members.
No one
Well,
is saying
I mean,
that
you
because
could
as a
talk
religion
about-
they are allowed to do that, but it is the individuals that are
You
being
just said
abused.
that.
No. I said that they have protections under the law in regards to what they can and cannot do. They have tax exempt. They're able to buy properties and not have to pay taxes on it. That was what pissed off the IRS. What's happening as members is unapproachable and needs to be investigated. But the government,
But that's like saying-
the
I mean-
larger government is not going to do that to take down.
But there are so many instances of abuse in the Catholic Church that like you don't want the government sticking their nose into religious groups and organizations. You don't want that. I mean, and the precedent that it sets, that if they are classified as a religion and you say the government's going to come in and do what, break them up if they're not doing anything technically illegal.
But if they are doing something illegal, you don't.
But if something illegal is happening, then report it, and then yes, we should do something about it. But that's not what's happening.
Here's the problem: is that people within the church don't want to report. And
Nobody. But that's a whole nother
But
issue.
But here's the thing: is that if like Johnny said, if they start to be able to own or control the police department of Clearwater, then people who do want to leave the church and who are having problems and are being abused won't have anyone to go to.
But that's at the end of the day
They're gonna have
speculation
to-
of what's going to possibly happen if they get more.
They're gonna have to
control.
cross the line to St. Pete, and they're gonna have to go to Pinellas County. You can't give them a whole county.
What I'm trying to say is the police department needs to be very careful about not becoming controlled or not bowing to the will of Scientology.
What do you think?
And
What do you
that's
think
where-
that's
and
already
that's where the
happened? That's
government-
already happened for the past 20 years, probably.
That's happened in
Clearwater.
any
community.
Yes, I was just talking about looking at New York when it comes to the corruption in the 70s and 60s.
Yeah.
That large political organizations took control of the police and they were able to run the cities they wanted to run. This is a normal thing that happens.
Yeah.
No, but it
a
shouldn't
coalition
be, but
of
we
power,
shouldn't just-
if it's a religion
This
or
is
a
not
government
no.
organization.
We shouldn't
Let me
just
tell you
go
right
as
now
more
that
when
if this
corruption
was
happens.
if this was a Muslim-controlled community, if the city of Clearwater were taken over by Muslims, it would be first of all global news tomorrow,
Exactly.
and that you would have people out there protesting by the weekend.
You're right. You're
that's-
absolutely right, and that's.
But
and
that's
the
isn't
problem.
that a problem though? Like, do you want protest on Muslim communities?
No, we're not saying that, but we just want.
No, but I'm saying the problem is that nobody demonizes them because it's a predominantly white religious
Well, no, we don't
organization.
demonize them because they're
But
not
if
really
it
doing
was
anything.
It's a
if
bunch
it
of
was
Hollywood
That's
people.
the thing is they are hurting people. People are getting hurt every day in that church.
But they're not calling for anything outwardly, and I think that's why people don't care.
But
leave
if
them
they were, let's say like Islam, and they were trying to implement Sharia law
if you had a
because now they're in
jihadist group of
control of the
Scientologists,
city
we would have a
council.
problem.
Yeah, well, again, you're going to have protesters out there tomorrow,
Okay,
and that's the thing. We
so
don't know what
here's
their
the-
ulterior motives are.
Well, no, and here's the kind of laws you want to be you want to be concerned about. Is saying they implement policies that make
make domestic abuse or make it harder to report.
You can't
in those
do any of that
situations.
thing like
Yes,
that from
you
city
can.
council.
Yes, you can.
You
You can
can.
make policies.
Of course, they
you
make
can,
the-
you can make
the local
policy
laws.
that the
Yeah.
local.
But
the
you
local
can't
law-
that you can't report.
No, not that
domestic
you can't
abuse?
Not that
No,
you
they
can't
get kicked
report,
up to
but
the
in-
Supreme Court.
But in a case that if you report, they used to have the law that they used to have policy in a lot of cities that when the police would arrive, they would just separate them and moderate. They would mediate the
And
situation.
that's a police
She's making
issue.
a good point, which
Yeah.
is that they
Yeah.
can minimize the veracity of the penalties by which those crimes are held
Well,
to.
the police departments can, yeah. I mean, but then
No,
we-
but it's the city council that
they're
it-
the ones that make those policies.
Right. Yeah.
They either can make the policy, they're legislating. You just need, all I'm saying, I'm not saying that the government should come in and break up Scientology by any means. They're a religion, they have a right to do what they want to do. So much so that they are not breaking the law or they are not hurting people. And by hurting, I mean actually abusing their members. And I just think that the government of Clearwater needs to be very look out
I just
for
think
these
that you could
things.
say the same thing about any religious
You
organization.
can. And I would say the same thing about Christianity, Catholicism, anything. Like if the Catholic Church was taking over swaths of land in Clearwater, I would say that we need to be careful that, abuse of minors isn't minimized by policy.
There's 115,000 people living in the city of Clearwater. It is their responsibility to make sure that this
Yeah.
does not go any further than
Or
it is
or
right now.
or we can dissolve them as a
Oh
city.
my gosh! I think it would be a great idea.
How would that
for
go?
us to, as Tampa, to
Aaron-
annex
Amber,
Clearwater?
Amber, and Tom Lee, if you guys want to get on dissolving Clearwater on top of
Not going to happen.
That's a fast one. That's easily able to do. If you see that something like that is being taken over, you can easily have the state of Florida, and they could do it because they have the votes to dissolve the city and allow it to be rebuilt, rezoned, and then a new council can be voted in.
all right, I think we're running way over our.
We're absolutely way over time, and to the extent that I don't even know if we should even touch on the last topic of the night, which was the ferry boat. Maybe we'll just carry it over.
Why don't we keep it?
to
Why
the-
don't we keep it 5 minutes? I think we can do the ferry for 5 minutes. Guys, there's a ferry
All right.
that's gonna go from Tampa, from Tampa to St. Pete downtown.
Segues,
You know
I
that?
love it.
Oh my God!
You
All
guys
right,
gonna-
so
you guys
they
gonna
brought
use it?
back this horrible idea of this ferry boat. Well, let me rephrase. Okay, the ferry boat idea is not horrible. It's the actual ferry itself and the execution of it that I have a problem with, because they're trying to sell this as an alternative transportation option. And it's not. It's basically a tourism gimmick, okay? Because you're not going to use this on your daily commute. And right now, the only viable use that
off
they
so
seem
many
to be
people.
promoting for this ferry are for people to come and watch the Lightning fans. I mean, even the Rays aren't even paying attention to this ferry issue, and so. They're making some changes to it. It's going to leave from the convention center, which, again, that's progress in the right direction. But, again, if someone can't use this as an alternative mode of transportation for their daily commute, it's no more than a transportation gimmick. You might as well call it the pirate taxi.
Well, Johnny-
and it just goes to St. Pete.
Johnny, I don't know about you, but I take the trolley from downtown every morning, and I would get on the ferry, and I would get on the ferry to my job in St. Pete. Okay,
Sure you do.
That's
Where
a
would
very
you,
common.
Where would you pick up the trolley in downtown? The one stop to
It's
get to
time to connect these two with a gondola. Guys, I think I can't keep going. You guys
honestly,
take over from
I
there.
thought about it today when I was looking at the route. I was like, I have to drive to downtown, park somewhere close to the convention center, pay for that parking, then get on a boat to then be floated over to St. Pete, where their pier looks disgusting.
Well,
I don't know
which,
how
by the
that's
way,
gonna work.
again, because there's so much parking right by the convention center.
Yeah.
And again, then I'm gonna walk around downtown St. Pete and then to take an Uber to get to the Trop, because I'm not walking to the Trop. I don't walk many places to begin with. That's another comment. But it's such a waste of money. They make it sound like, oh, it's a new form of transportation.
No.
It's not. You're just lying to people so that I don't know who's getting money for this. Which consultant was it? And I'm sorry if I'm pissing you off. We know that consultant. Who
Which
was the one
ferry company?
Yeah, which ferry company? I can't even drive my car onto the ferry. It made more sense to connect it to Apollo Beach, to downtown Tampa, or Apollo
With
Beach
the car- with car ability
be
to
able
put in
do
there.
that.
Whoever made the ferries that we took from Portugal to Morocco, from Spain
It's
to
the,
Morocco.
Oh, you
those
1%ers.
ferries were-
There's a ferry
were
company,
fantastic
FRS.
ferries. Yeah.
They actually have, like, I don't know, 100 ports that they go from one place to another with a ferry. They're very good ferries. Like they're
Great
like
ferries.
people
brand
use them all the
fantastic.
time. I mean,
can carry cars.
but you're talking about like an hour ferry ride, not a 15-minute one. I don't know if it's worth. It probably isn't even worth it for them to even show up.
I mean, the purpose of the ferry would be to cut the timeline from me having to go from Apollo Beach all around to get to St. Pete. If I could just get on a ferry and take it that way,
Apollo
this
Beach
is
makes
different.
sense.
And that's
Apollo-
what infuriates me.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. There's not enough people living in downtown to and that work in downtown St. Pete.
Yeah,
'Cause if
Apollo Beach really would be a good
Yes,
idea.
if you,
I don't know
if
why
you
they
live in
I will say,
downtown Tampa
it
and
will
work
be-
in downtown St. Pete,
No, it's
you're an
faster to drive.
idiot.
Enable, but it will be such a fun bar crawl to be able to go from downtown Tampa and you get on the ferry, and I don't know if the ferry serves alcohol or not. That's actually a really important factor
That's a
to probably
very
figure
important
out.
point.
Should.
And then to go get dropped off downtown St. Pete, you can do 2 bar crawls in the same day.
If it's
No.
not, if that's not what they're making it for right now, it eventually will
It
be
needs
that.
to be a
because,
bar
because
crawl.
because
That's so Tampa.
I
That's
was
so
just about to say,
Tampa.
this is Tampa. Bar crawls are what we do. If it is not a drinking activity, we'll make it one.
And it's so
Like,
much cleaner than
welcome to
St.
Tampa.
Pete's bar crawls because that first Friday is disgusting.
Well,
So
what
I
ticks-
don't know
what-
why people
and what
still
is-
do that.
Call me a
What
woman
especially
center.
ticks me off about the whole thing. What especially ticks me off about the whole thing was that Pat Kemp has been lying about this for a long time, claiming that the Department of Defense had greenlit them building a dock at MacDill for people who work at MacDill to take it from Apollo Beach to MacDill, which, again, nobody has seen any letter or paperwork or anything to regarding this
You get
ferry.
your
And
kidney to
again,
get onto that base
well,
sometimes.
and again, the problem is that this is no more than a tourism attraction. They say that they're going to run later for the Lightning games. Okay, great. But again, it's not going to be a viable option for the daily commute.
Is it free? Is it free?
No. No, it's not.
How much was it going to cost? What's going to happen is someone in Tampa or St. Pete is going to find.
It's gonna say that we're gonna need to pay
is
for
gonna
it for
find
free.
some transportation fund to pay for it. Oh, now look at all these people
Yeah.
that are on the ferry,
yeah.
and they're doing it because they want. No, it's because it's free. That's why the trolley is doing so well because it's free. The fact
No,
that we
that's
have
exactly right. And
fact
the
that we
governor-
haven't connected the trolley into a circle yet is so stupid.
Tampa's transportation
Well-
really has been a struggle.
And the governor gave
the
Hart
struggle of a bus.
the governor gave Hart a whole bunch of money, and that's how they decided to use it, basically, to make the trolley free for the next 5 years, which again is the most ridiculous part. Instead of taking that money and investing it to actually make that run of the trolley useful, no, they just decided to give everybody a free ride on the trolley. Yeah, of course your numbers are up, and then what they're going to do is use those numbers from the free trolley rides to justify them wanting more money for the trolley in the first place.
What are you saying? This is all about the money? No, it's not all about the money. It's about moving people from one place to another as low as possible. Isn't that what it's for, Johnny?
I think we're closing out now.
I really
we're
do
done.
think
Yeah.
there's nothing else to talk about. It's all about the money. Again, whoever's the consultant on this, kudos to you.
No,
I'm
look, and I'm
expecting a dinner from Burns, honestly, from what we're paying.
I had people giving me a hard time because the money came from the governor, and they're like, "Hey, man, you shouldn't be criticizing this money for Hart because it came from the governor." I don't care where the money came from. The money came from the taxpayer, first of all. Second of all, the governor happened to give this right around election time, which was awfully convenient. And so I'm just calling it for what it is. And regardless of the fact is that, regardless of how much money Hart got from the governor, the truth of the matter is that they could have put it to better use, and they've decided instead to fluff their numbers up so then they can justify going back to the taxpayer and asking for more money to fund this ridiculous trolley that is completely useless. It's another tourism gimmick. Damn it. All right.
All I'm gonna say is
Anyways.
that we were talking a lot of smack about Hart just a few years ago, and I can't anymore.
can't.
As much as we talked about fluffing the numbers.
All right,
That's
real
a
quick, to
Gotta
backtrack
appreciate this.
just slightly, we were wondering if the governor of Utah is a Mormon, and by all accounts, that is a fact. Governor Herbert grew up in Orem,
Check-
Utah.
Wait, Johnny,
Hold on.
have you put up our scoreboard yet of wins?
Oh, I know.
Because
You have 4.
a lot.
No,
one
no,
per
no.
show.
Oh, okay. I have 12 or
was more
20.
Than, 4 is more than I thought you were going to say. You have
This
one.
is the ego stroke.
We do.
He gets 1 or 2 right every single
podcast.
Yeah,
exactly.
and I get the
Out
rest
of the
of
two
them
topics.
right. It's fine.
Okay,
We
I
do need
think-
an
you get the
ombudsman,
one.
somebody
All
to
right,
keep score.
Boys.
So
down.
he served a 2-year
He started
mission
it.
for the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints.
Oh, you're still going with this.
And also went to Brigham Young University. So that
So
all
announcements.
signs point to yes.
Announcements.
All right,
is,
I have an announcement for everybody. We are going. Our city council.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
I'm actually going to refrain from any of the jokes I was just about to make. Our city council is going to be attending the Tampa Bay Young Republicans' next event.
And what
That
city might that be?
is going to be in at the Barrymore Hotel in downtown Tampa. You can take the trolley there. You can take the ferry there.
No, you cannot take the
A
trolley
segue,
there.
a
You cannot
segue.
take the trolley there. The trolley is
segue.
far.
We are take the scooters. We'll be there October 28th on Monday. So 1 week from today. Everyone is invited. It's a public meeting. You are welcome to come and see. We're going to have conversations with all the Tampa City Council. They're going to talk about what's going on, what's going to happen in the near future, and just kind of generally what's happening. State of the city address, essentially. That's going to be at the Barrymore Hotel on the 28th at 6:30 p.m. If you're interested in getting more involved, get to tbyr.com or message us on Facebook or leave us comments and everything. And then also let us know where you shop and if you're going to use the ferry or not.
You done?
Yeah, that's it.
So the announcement on my side is actually a announcement in regards to the Hillsborough County Republican Party Lincoln Day dinner. We have been told by sources that they will be having their event.
The rumor is
on November 23rd at 6 p.m. at the Event Factory. I'm not going to say who the note speaker is.
Sources have not confirmed.
Yeah, sources have not confirmed or denied. The keynote speaker for that might be the press secretary for 2020, a Trump campaign.
A nobody.
But as soon as it's official, we'll make the announcement and let you know who's not attending.
And I don't have any announcements, but I would just like to say thank you all for tuning in and watching. I thought I was trying
It's
to
the
be
best
nice
announcement
here.
yet.
Exactly.
All right. So, again, thank you so much to everybody for watching. I appreciate you joining us every Monday at 7 o'clock. Again, you can find us here live on Facebook.com/a-yard-sign. You can also find the yard sign on YouTube. And we simulcast through the Tampa Bay Young Republicans page. So, please like, share, comment on all those platforms. And we will see you next Monday. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.
Let the resistance continue.
Skipping next Monday, actually, because of the TBR meeting.